Hello everyone and welcome to another a very exciting and very short game from round 5 of the FIDE Chess Olympiad 2022. It's Nodirbek Abdusattorov who defeated Fabiano Caruana yesterday and is on a perfect score against Slovakia's youngest grandmaster, 20-year-old Jergus Pechac, who became basically their youngest grandmaster in 2019. And there's also a fun story regarding him during the qualifier last year for the FIDE World Cup. Boris Gelfand blundered a queen against him, but due to a mouse slip, and then he immediately offered a draw. So obviously we are dealing with a true gentleman here. Now that being said, let's check out the game, as it's just incredible how simple this game is. That it can happen with two grandmasters playing. So let's see what happened. Abdusattorov has the white pieces and he opens with e4. Sorry about that. We have e5 by Pecháč, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5. The Ruy Lopez is on the board, and now usually like 99% of the times you will see Morphy's defense or the Berlin defense, but very, very rarely, incredibly rarely indeed, will you see the Cozio defense with knight to g to e7, and this is what Pecháč prepared as a surprise for Abdusattorov. We have castles, and now pawn to g6, pawn to d4, striking in the center, going after that going after the d5 pawn, e captures, knight captures, and bishop g7. Knight captures on c6, we have b captures on c6, bishop to a4, and here we have castles, knight to c3, rook to b8, and now there is a game where queen to f3 was played, but here rook to e1, and it is now already, as of move 10, that we have a completely new game. So what is happening here? Well, not all that much. Black has a double c-pawn, but he does have the semi-open file for his rook, and he will have additional support for executing d5 when he chooses to do so. So d6 first, we have bishop to b3. Now the dark square bishop can be developed, so a b2 pawn will not be hanging. And now bishop to e6, offering a trade of light square bishops. We have knight to e2, preparing to go knight to f4 to put pressure on the bishop here, and pawn to c5 now. Taking control over the d4 square, but also maybe with some ideas of shifting the bishop over to this diagonal. Well, after Nodirbek's next move, we are about to see will this be the case. So knight to f4, attacking the bishop, and now not bishop to d7 going after this c6 idea, but rather bishop captures on b3. We have a captures on b3, now opening up this a file for the rook. Knight to c6 now, defending the pawn, and pawn to c3. We have a5, the pawn is now nicely defended by the knight. Also this rook will go to a8, so the knight can move. Knight to d5, beautiful square for the knight here, and rook to a8, and here just rook to a4. Now you can develop the bishop, you can maybe put the queen to a1, you can put more pressure on this a5 pawn, and at some point it might be a problem for black to defend this. For example, if you double up or triple up on the a file, maybe you can play b4, and that's basically it. So here we have knight to e5, and now bishop to f4. We have rook to e8, developing the rook, and now a move that if you were playing this position you probably never would have played, but here bishop captures on e5, just giving up I mean, the knight is also strong, but it's very rare that you will see something like this, just capturing that knight, as the knight is on a beautiful square e5. It's almost a monster knight, so that's why Abdusattorov eliminates it. Bishop captures, and now knight to e3, shifting the knight to c4 to go after this a5 pawn. We have queen to b8, and now queen to c2, pawn to c6, and now pawn to g3, preparing f4, and here black should probably play h5 to kind of discourage white from overextending the pawns in front of the white king, but here we have queen to b5, and now comes knight to c4. Just attacking the a5 pawn, putting pressure on the bishop here. Rook e to b8, now attacking the the b3 pawn, saying, okay, you can kick away my bishop, win the d6 pawn, I'm gonna win the b3 pawn. But now pawn to f4, we have bishop to f6, and now just knight captures on d6, queen captures on b3, queen captures, rook captures on b3, so we just trade stuff, nothing happening here really. But now knight to c4, and it was in this position on move 27 that Jergus Pechac resigned the game, as there seems to be nothing more that he can do here. So truly an incredible game. And now when you look at the position and you know that he resigned here, you of course know that black's position is completely helpless, and it is definitely objectively so. We are going to show why, of course, because it seems like there's still so much for black to do, but the fact of the matter is there really isn't. There's no move you can make with black. You have to keep this rook here to defend the pawn, otherwise you're going to lose this pawn. This rook has nothing to do with the b2 pawn, nicely defended. The bishop completely helpless against the knight. The pawn is coming to e5. Also, you can just grab the d file for yourself. So what you could do, let's say you try something like bishop d8 to add more defenders to the a5 pawn. We're going to play rook d1. Put pressure on the d file. Rook to b7. As we have to play something, you can try and activate this rook, but now rook to d6. Now we go after this pawn. So the doubled pawn really is a problem here. We have rook to e7, let's say, going after this pawn. Now e5. We just defend our own pawn. Rook to e6. Now defend the c6 pawn. But now we can even trade. Rook captures, f captures, and now only now that you've prepared everything, now you win the game by simply playing b4, and there's nothing black can do about this. You can capture once, but that's it. Next move, you're getting a pass pawn, and it's just winning. Let's say king f7, b captures on a5, you can bring the king into the game, a6, king to d7. Now white can also start bringing the king into the game, king to c7, king to e3, bishop to e7 or something, king to d4, rook to a7, and it seems like you have blockaded the position, but a simple knight to d6, and there's no way that you can play this. There's really nothing for you to do. If you try going with the king to b6, then we can just play knight to c8 with check and pick up the rook here. Or even if you pick up the knight here and win the pawn, it still doesn't matter because white's position is just that good. Let's say king c4. Now we waste a few moves, h6, h4, h5, rook to a1, and now black has to move either the king or the rook. Let's say king to c7. Now we bring the king into the game, and there's nothing you can do here. You can't go here, you can't go here. You can move the king to d7 to keep an eye on your pawn, but now king b6. Or you move the king somewhere else, not defending the c6 pawn, and then we just pick up the c6 pawn, and after, let's say, rook to a8, king to b7, and now black resigns. There are no more moves. So it seems like there's quite a lot to do here, but there is in fact nothing to do here. Both of them know this, and that is why Jergus Pechac resigned the game here. And another brilliant victory for Nodirbek Abdusattorov, his 5th win in a row, which is really incredible, especially since he defeated Fabiano Caruana in the previous round with the black pieces. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. It's one of my previous videos. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Another effortless win, only 27 moves by the world rapid champion Nodirbek Abdusattorov. You guys said that you would like to see more games by him, so here is one. I mean, this is a masterclass. Hope you enjoyed this. So yeah, I would like to thank David Kimura, Esmond Alden, Jacob Tobias, Derek King, and Felix Daffo for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Olympiad until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.